Hello, and welcome to the first book review of the year for the Resilience Factory. And it's not like I haven't been reading any books this year so far. It's just that we've got to February and it's my first book review. And in fact, this year I have made a commitment to myself to read 50 books this year. I think I'm on 5 so far. Not bad at the beginning of February, not bad at all. The reason I've decided to make a commitment to myself is I can find myself all too often, and I'm sure many of you feel the same, knowing we love reading, we want to read more, and then in the evenings, too often you get into, I'll just start flicking through social media, or I'll just start watching this on Netflix, and then all of a sudden that opportunity to read has gone. So I thought if I set myself a target and I'm keeping a list of everything I've read in the year, and I'm also keeping a list of all the books I want to read this year as well, then that will really give me some impetus. But I'll let you know how I go with it. Would love to hear any more books you think I should read this year, books that you have absolutely loved and you think should be on my required reading list. And I'll let you know. And if any of you want to know what I've been reading, I'm very happy to share that with you too. Okay, so the first book we are reviewing this year is in fact one that I started in December last year when I had COVID. And I was so desperate to read it, it wasn't available, but I read it on my Kindle and then loved it so much that, as I always do, I went to buy the book myself. So this is not going to focus very well, but Brene Brown's Atlas of the Heart. There we are. I'll send a picture of that. This is the most exquisitely laid out book. That was one of the reasons I had to go and get it as a real live copy rather than just on my Kindle. It's a color book, beautifully illustrated, beautifully laid out, and really, I mean, you could have this as a coffee table book and a stunning gift for people as well. So Atlas of the Heart says, mapping meaningful connection and the language of human experience. If I read from the back of it, in Atlas of the Heart, Brown takes us on a journey through 87 of the emotions and experiences that define what it means to be human. As she maps the necessary skills and an actionable framework for meaningful connection, she gives us the language and tools to access a universe of new choices and second chances, a universe where we can share and steward the stories of our bravest and most heartbreaking moments with one another in a way that builds connection. So when we talk about, on the resilience course, when we talk about emotions and the fact that so many people have a hard time naming their emotions, one of the reasons we have a hard time naming them is because we haven't got the emotional vocabulary. Many people can give a few emotions around, I feel some version of mad, sad, or glad. Typically, people will have a range of 10 emotions that they talk about. If you ask people how they are, they can identify about 10 emotions. Very often you say, how are you feeling? And people will say, fine. Of course, fine is not actually an emotion. But here's a journey of 87 emotions. Now, one of the things I absolutely love about this, well, there are a lot of them. First of all, there's no such thing as negative and positive emotions. You will have heard Gabby and I saying that so often. We cannot stand it when people start labeling emotions as negative or positive, because it gives a value to them, it gives a connotation to them without any context. So grief, sadness are totally appropriate emotions when you've lost somebody who you love. Anger is a totally appropriate emotion which fuels change. I mean, where would anger is what has changed things like the slave trade, because people get righteously angry about things. So you cannot put emotions into categories of negative or positive. So she doesn't do that. Absolutely thrilled we're on the same page. The other thing I absolutely love is the way that she, rather than like doing it alphabetically, she clusters them together. So the chapter titles are things like, get to that right page, the chapter titles are such like places we go to when life is good, places we go to when we feel wronged, places we go to when things don't go as planned. So she puts them together. So a really interesting one, for example, would be places we go to with others, in which the emotions she puts in that category in places we go to with others are compassion, pity, empathy, sympathy, boundaries, and comparative suffering. And many people really struggle with what's the difference between empathy, sympathy, pity, and compassion. And she really lays out what the difference between those are and how we would get from one to another. I love the fact that she, in all of the sections, she will give a definition as to what the emotion is, because sometimes they can be very difficult to actually pin down. So there's a definition given of it, and maybe comparing it with another emotion as well to see what the similarities and the differences are, as well as really giving you some very practical real life situations when they arise, some stories from herself and how we can deal with them when they arise as well. So yeah, what more can I say about this book? It's wonderful. Go and buy it for yourself, and then go and buy a copy for somebody else as well. That's all I can try and persuade you to do. So yeah, Brene Brown's Atlas of the Heart, the first book this year. Remember that at the end of the year, we'll be doing our book giveaway, our book hamper of 12 books for the year. And I think this is going to be going in there. So if you haven't read it by then, mind you could give this as a gift to somebody else, because it would be a beautiful gift to have. Cool. So that is the first book review of the month. Because I'm reading so many books, you might actually get more than one book a month. There's another couple of books that one I've finished and one I'm on at the moment. And I can see a beautiful parallel between them. So I think I might just have to be giving you a quick second book review in February, because I didn't do one in January. So anyway, we'll look out for that. Okay, send me through your book reviews. I'd love to know what you are reading, what you recommend me to read, and see if it can make it to my list of 50 books for the year. See you soon.